We're back at you, another episode, another great episode, another humbling episode, another athletic baseball episode. I've always said baseball players are the absolute best athletes in the world, and I have an argument behind this. It started in Argentina, before I get into who this episode is brought to you by, but it started in Argentina with some guys from a gun company that I work with called Bueller. They told me that soccer players are the best athletes in the world, and I almost spit out my food, and I had to get into what became about a 2.5 hour, pretty stern argument, not real like loud, but just I was very forward with my statements, and I made sure that they understood where I stood. And I want to talk to our guest today about this because it's something that's always on my mind, because a lot of people look at baseball players and they say, you don't need to be in the best shape to be a great baseball player. They might look at Bartolo Colon. They might look at somebody that might have a little bit of a belly, but Bartolo Colon pitched into his mid-40s. He was successful into his mid-40s. The dude can run miles at a time without stopping. So there's a lot to be said about the best athletes in the world. My guest today is going to help me answer this question to start the podcast. It's brought to you by our friends at Jack Daniel's, Lynchburg, Tennessee. Enjoy it responsibly. Never allow underage drinking. Jack has been there for myself, my crew, friends all around the world in all different instances of their lives. So remember, Jack Daniel's, the American sour mash whiskey out of the great state of Tennessee. Thank you so much for your support of our TV show, our podcast, and all of our brands. Jack Daniel's. Our guest today is 2020 world champion from the Los Angeles Dodgers, Mr. Walker Bueller. How are you, my man?
I'm doing good, man. I like the hoodie.
You like the hoodie?
Yeah, man, for sure.
Your boy Caleb gave me that when I was down at spring training, right when COVID broke out.
Yeah, no, good dude. We're waiting to get him back, man. This surgery it stinks, but he's a big part of our team for sure.
Well, talk to me about that, Walker Bueller. He's on the roster. He plays the entire shortened season with y'all. He's on the roster last year. You guys are positioned to win the World Series straight out of the gate. You have a great team with some additions, but you yourself, I mean, you're a great arm. You have Kershaw, you have Wells, you have Mookie Betts, you have a lot of great young talent on the team. You were part of a college World Series championship team at Vanderbilt, in one of the greatest cities on earth, in Nashville, which I want to talk about that in a second also. But think about that. Put yourself in Caleb Ferguson's shoes. You're on the team and you win the World Series, but before the World Series starts or the playoffs start, you get sent to the hospital. You yourself have even had Tommy John surgery, Walker Bueller. That's what Caleb had to go through, but he has to sit on the sidelines and watch from a TV. It's almost like a bittersweet feeling. Like, I'm so proud of my guys. My brothers are out there winning for the organization. He's a team player. Don't get me wrong. But do you kind of feel that you'd be like, oh man, I don't know if it really counts, or how do you look at that when you're in his position?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, no one can answer that for him, but I think in our game, man, these injuries like that happen, and Caleb was having an unbelievable year for us, and really was a huge part of our bullpen. So when he kind of went down, it was maybe one of the bigger moments of adversity maybe for our team, just because those pieces you can't just find all the time, that the big left-handed that can come and get guys out. So, I'm sure he was thrilled for us and thrilled for himself. He was a part of it as we've, kind of said, but, I'm sure he wants to win one and run out of that bullpen himself. And, we certainly intend on making that happen.
In a repeat fashion, starting in February when you guys report, which is not very far away, do you feel in your heart right now that it's going to get back to normal in spring training in Scottsdale area, Phoenix, Arizona area for 2021?
I certainly hope so. Obviously, I'm not a epidemiologist or anything like that, not a doctor, but I hope so. Obviously, this winter will be kind of telling with kind of what happens and whatnot. And you know what, if we could make it work through this initial surge and so on and so forth, I think we'll be able to make it work in some way next year for sure.
Is there pressure on you automatically in that organization with the history, the championships, the total culture of Dodgers baseball is really winning, right? It's you guys and the Yankees are on opposite ends of the country, but it's pretty much the same culture. It's you win or the media's on you, the fans are on you. You have Magic Johnson around. You have a great ownership right now, great ownership team and management team. Is the pressure start right away? Do you even get to enjoy a World Series championship? And on top of that, is there added pressure, Walker Buehler, because it wasn't a normal season? And the Dodgers have had their problems, right, lately in the playoffs and a normal 162-game season. I'm not trying to take any positive light away from that. You guys are world champions, but it is talked about that, hey, it was a shortened season. So is there added pressure now to try to recreate that sense of championship, but with a normal length season?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's going to be pressure to win at any point. I think if we played 5 games, I think there's going to be pressure to hold up a trophy, right? But, at the end of the day, somebody had to be the 2020 World Series champion, and we'd rather be that than not. And so I don't think that it's going to take anything away from it. Now, do we want to go win another one? Absolutely. And I don't think it's because it was a shorter season. I think it's because we want to win and we want to hold up trophies and, cement certain guys on our team's legacies. And I think this one was huge because we've all seen Kirsch and talked about, he's just talked about so negatively in the playoffs. And I think it's kind of so unfounded and unfair. And for him to whenever he decides to retire, for him to have a World Series championship is something that we've all, wanted and are super thankful that we were able to be a part of for him.
It was amazing to see. Baseball is an amazing sport, Walker, because of you see so many different adjustments that needed to be made. You could be on top of the world, and within 3 minutes, you could hit a bomb in the top of the first and go out in the bottom of the second and make 2 errors and just feel like, what am I doing out here today? Right? It's a weird game. It's so much different, the mental approach to baseball, which it's always been talked about how much of the game is really physical as compared to mental. But when you mention somebody like Kershaw, and even in that game in the middle of the World Series, he comes in there and he gets touched up a little bit. And the first stop by the media, the first stop by the fans is, oh, here we go again. And you guys fight back and you win. And the first person almost that they put the camera on is his look. And when you guys win that championship, and he was so floored and he was so fired up for the team to win and the organization to get a world championship. Do you think that he has that on in the back of his mind? As great of a pitcher as he is, does it get outweighed and outbalanced by that negative postseason reflection that comes with the names, Clayton Kershaw when he's mentioned in the media?
Yeah, what I think is crazy about it is for a long time, Kersh had to pitch on short rest, pitch too much, deeper into games than he probably should have been, and I think that's a very, very difficult thing to do. And to be honest with you, I think the numbers that he's accumulated, even in the playoffs, for the situations that he's been in, have been almost superhuman. I don't think that many people could do what he's done in the playoffs, given the rest and things like that they did for a long time. And, I think it's just kind of a tribute to our team that we were able to accumulate the depth, accumulate the talent, that somebody as special as Clayton Kershaw didn't have to do those certain things to get to where we needed to be. And, I think the biggest thing is that he just deserves it. And our organization deserved it. We'd been through it in 2017, which I wasn't really a part of. 2018, we just kind of got beat, man. We didn't feel outmatched, but we just got beat. And then to kind of cap it off this year, I think, it was our time and we were able to put together a good month and play some really good baseball and beat some really good teams.
Do you think that spiritually, and you don't need to touch on your personal spirituality or Christianity or religion or anything, but being from the part of the country that you're from, I assume that you are a follower, but that's not the question. The question is, do you think there was some spiritual thing going on in Los Angeles this year with the passing of Kobe Bryant and what happened with LeBron and the Lakers? Magic Johnson's a huge part of that organization. Magic has this ownership group over here with the Dodgers now. Magic probably couldn't hit a baseball if you teed up. Maybe he could. Maybe we're going to get into that in a second. But he loves the Dodgers, always has. Do you think you guys had a guiding light in that area of the country this year with one of the greatest athletes of our time or of all time, Kobe Bryant, and the accident that happened?
I don't know how much I would say we had, an angel on our shoulder kind of thing. But, I do think that the city going through that kind of tragedy. Obviously, we followed Kobe. I'm from Lexington, Kentucky. Followed Kobe's whole career. I can't imagine what it was like in Los Angeles in that heyday, right? So, we were out there when he passed away. When that happened, we were at our fan fest, and you can just feel it. You can feel the presence of it throughout the city, the murals, the tributes, things like that. And I don't want to say that we're all wearing Kobe Bryant socks and all that stuff, but I think it is something that's in the back of your mind, especially for the guys that have been there a long time and had gotten to know him a little bit. It was definitely a motivational thing, and I think more than anything, it's just kind of crazy that in this year, with that happening, with COVID, that both of our teams found a way to hold up a trophy. I think it's pretty special.
So special. And what and I don't know how, if you were even around the reaction of Tommy, but what was his reaction? Did you get to talk to him? Does Lasorda come unglued on something like this? How old is Tommy Lasorda now? And then
He's up there.
And then you also have one of the legends of all time broadcasting in any sport, in Vin. And he wasn't in the seat this year. Can you imagine that? Was it just last year, the year before he retires? What did you get to talk to those guys? Because you understand, in life, you have mentors, you have influences, you have inspirations. But as you look at people that are in their 70s, 80s, 90s, I have it myself. Those guys have to acclimate themselves every year to younger and younger gentlemen, right? They have the guys like Fernando Valenzuela's decade, and then they have the guys that were in there with Kirk Gibson, and then you have the guys that were in there, late in the 90s, and then you have the 2000s, and now we're in 2020. Lasorda has been there forever. Vin Scully's been there forever. And they're in their 80s and 90s, and they got to be around Walker Bueller in his mid-20s and be relevant. How do they do that, Walker? How do they stay relevant when they were back when baseball was being played in black and white?
Right. I think it's kind of what you're saying in the tall task that is, right? I think it's just kind of a testament to who those people are. I mean, Tommy is around a lot. He wasn't around as much this year, obviously, with the situation that we were in. But, for him to get up and get dressed and come to the field and run through the locker room, and, Tommy will say some stuff to you that you don't expect to hear from somebody. So he's a special human, and every time we get to hang out with him, we obviously cherish. And I've got to meet Vin a couple times just when they've retired some jerseys and things like that. And, he's as with it as anybody. Hey, Walker, how are you? Nice to see you. And he's never called a game that I've been a part of. So, I think he follows us and kind of knows what's going on. But, I think that's another testament to our organization is a lot of the former players are around. Oral Hershiser was in the booth on TV with us now. Don Newcomb, before he passed, was at a lot of games and got to talk to him in batting practice and pick his brain and get to know him and his wife. And, it's just kind of a cool thing when an organization can find a way to keep people that gave so much to them around and allow them to be a part of our everyday life. I think it's special for them and for us.
Yeah, I think it's a very well said. And, there might be a time in your career where trade happens, free agency happens. That happens a lot in today's game. The days of, a George Brett style career of 3 decades, 3 different batting titles, the same organization from draft to retirement, first ballot Hall of Famer, those kind of careers. Even Griffey, as much as he was loved in Seattle, was, traded away and free agency got him. And it could happen with Walker Bueller, but there's almost like, where does your pride sit? Where do you pick that, the pride of, all right, I'm going to retire at, some players have even went back and wanted to retire in their original uniform. And it just seems like Vin and Tommy and those guys have it so good with that organization being so deeply rooted and still being able to recognize you out of uniform and say, hey, Walker, how you doing, when they were doing that with guys that were playing in the 70s. If you think about it, man, that's pretty freaking amazing.
Yeah, no, I think it's a testament to our culture, right? That there's not many organizations in any sport that guys say, no, I want to retire in that uniform. There's certain ones, and kind of the George Brett, the Royals is kind of one of the outlier ones, right? But a lot of people want to retire a Yankee. A lot of people want to retire a Dodger. And, I think that's a super important thing to me. If I could play the rest of my career in one uniform, that would be an unbelievable accomplishment. Obviously, watching Clayton do that, we hope he never goes anywhere else, right? I would love to play with him the rest of the games that he plays, and I think, all of us feel that way. All of us want to play with Los Angeles for forever. And, we just enjoy it. You got to take it year by year because this thing changes. We got 4 or 5 free agents this year of guys that have kind of been a part of this core that we've built the past couple, years of success on with Jock and Kike and some of these guys. So, it's an interesting game in the way that, you don't always get to make every single choice that you want. Typically you go to the high school that you go to, but you can go to a private school if you want. You can pick that, right? Then in college, you've got 6 or 8 or 10 or 100 offers or whatever. You get to pick the one you want to go and play for. The Major League Baseball, pro baseball is not like that. Somebody calls your name and you're theirs. So you got to make the most of it. And I think I was just really lucky and blessed to be picked by a team that is the quality that we are and the quality of people that run and develop and help us become, successful players and successful men, I think.
I agree 100%. And I think that when you mention high school, Walker Bueller, you mentioned college, NCAA. It could be a junior college. It could be D2. It could be D3, D1 if you're good enough to be a standout like you were. But you add COVID on top of this. Dodgers had some drama with COVID in the World Series. Many Major League Baseball organizations had positive testing all throughout the shortened season and before. I want to start with high school, college, these kids that did not get to play their senior season. Juniors were missing out on that junior year that is so instrumental and pretty much like influential in what the college scouts are going to start looking at them, or a cross checker might be coming out to check them on the jugs gun or see what they're running the 60 in, or what if they're a 5-tool player. College guys, same boat. Back when you were drafted in the first round, I think you were drafted somewhere around the 20th pick of the draft, 23rd pick of the draft. That means you are absolutely one of the best baseball players in the world at that year for going into the Major League Draft. That means out of junior college, high school, and all juniors that are in any type of NCAA Division I, Division II, or Division III school, right? Because you got to be a junior to be drafted after you sign on with the NCAA. Yeah. I don't know if that's the same in basketball and football. I think it might be, but I don't know. You probably know the laws more than I do.
I think basketball's the one exception. They kind of do the one and done there. There's some small exceptions for us. There's some age rules. So if you're 21 within a couple months of the draft, I think you can go as a sophomore. But for pretty much all of us, it's 3 years of school.
So take me back to the day when you're sitting on the couch. I assume mom and dad's there. You got your friends around, girlfriend if you got one at the time, brothers, sisters. You probably already have a pretty good idea with the agent calling you and saying, hey, the Dodgers are looking at you right here. The Oakland Athletics might be looking at you here. The Red Sox have shown some interest. But you probably have a pretty good idea, right?
Yep.
So is it hard for you? Oh, sorry about that. Go ahead, Walker.
No, our draft year was interesting in that way. So we were playing in a super regional in Champaign, Illinois. We were up 1-0. So we were playing the game 2 of the super regional in Champaign. We ended up winning the game. So we're going to Omaha, right? We clinch our trip to the College World Series for a second time. We had won the year before, and we're still in uniform on the field. And our shortstop goes number 1 overall, Dansby Swanson. So before they even go do any of the media, before we won a super regional, it's a big deal in college. Swanson goes 1, ESPN's there. We're about to get on the bus. Carson Fulmer, my other teammate, goes 8th overall to the White Sox. So we've now got 2 first-round picks and an Omaha berth. We all get on the bus. We get home to the hotel in Champaign. We're all sitting in the lobby. I go 24th. So we're all just hanging out there. It was one of the weirdest, wildest days I've ever been a part of. So I think that was a huge day for all 3 of us, obviously, but for our program, at Vandy, you look at that day for us, right? You go to Omaha, defending champions, and you got 3 first-round picks in the first day.
I mean, can you imagine just that hotel lobby, the conversation going on? Like, that doesn't happen probably may have never happened before in the history of the game. Who knows? May have. But so you get drafted 24th. your shortstop, which is amazing for a shortstop to go number 1 overall in the draft. Yep. He goes to Atlanta, correct?
No, he went to Arizona and they got traded a couple months later.
To Atlanta. They got traded, which is even weird that that just shows you how quick it could be gone. He thinks he's going to go out to Arizona and play in the heat, and I guess Atlanta's still hot, but he's been in some great playoff teams with the Atlanta Braves since. He's got unbelievable hands. Who's got better hands, him or Crawford?
Oh, I don't know. I'd probably have to say him. I think Swanson might have Crawford on hair as well.
Really?
Crawford. Yeah, Crawford's is a little bit long for me. It's a little long. Swanson's got it pretty good. I actually think he's second on his team to a guy named Charlie Culberson.
Yeah.
They're like twins. I don't know if you've seen these guys. They look exactly the same. But I played with Charlie as well. I think he's got Swanson in hair a little bit.
And you think that Dansby's got better hands than Brandon Crawford, who has got videos out there that are. Yeah. I mean, I know they're both studs, but is it equal, or does he actually have the edge on shortstop hands?
I've seen Swanson every day for 3 years, so it's hard to go with someone else. But it's interesting. I'll tell you, some of the stuff that all of our defensive players in the big leagues can do is one of them. It's the most amazing thing, watching them practice more than anything, just because they don't miss. They're so good and so consistent, man. It's hard to even differentiate any of them, to be honest with you.
So going 24th, you come out of Nashville, Vanderbilt. What a great city, right? I mean, you've grown up. You're from pretty close to there, but there's not a better city, right?
No. It's one of those cities that is a college town in parts of it, and then it's a real city, and you don't really get that everywhere, right? I grew up in Lexington, which pure college town. I love it. Still live here, but no, Nashville's a special place, and especially now it's kind of growing up. It's getting huge now.
Did you get recruited by Kentucky?
I did a little bit, yeah. There was, just it's the nature of the beast. There's not that many scholarships to go around, and Vanderbilt made me an offer that I couldn't refuse, and I don't regret it at all, obviously.
How many post officers, or how many tickets do you get a year in Lexington now when the cop pulls you over and gives you a ticket just for not staying there?
I don't think I've even gotten pulled over in the city in a long time. Maybe
knock on wood, buddy. Knock on wood.
Knock on it, but
so you talk about the hands, the athleticism, going first round, 3 draft picks in the first round. Insane athletes, right? I'm going to assume that you and Dansby have probably had some freaking good wars on a ping pong table, maybe even a late night bowling alley, to where you just are. Maybe you guys could probably both break 200. So at the beginning of this conversation, I made mention, I had a long talk with Caleb and Will Smith about this. I honestly think that if you had an Olympic style event, Walker Bueller, catch a basketball, shoot it, dribble a basketball, do a layup, catch a football, run a fly pattern, maybe do a handoff, and get in a swimming pool, laps, ping pong, go bowling, and bowl the ball down the lane. All these athletic events, and you took the 10 best players you took the best player off of every major league team, the best player off of every NFL team, NBA team, every swimming league, Olympic team, all of the soccer teams in the world, the best athlete off of that team. I think that baseball players win almost every event, if not everyone. And I'm not saying that you're going to get in the swimming pool and outswim Michael Phelps, but I think you're going to be able to get into the pool and look like Michael Phelps as far as an athlete being able to do the whatever kind of the freestyle stroke or whatever you're doing. Does that make sense to you, that baseball players just have this this weird knack of being a great all around athlete?
You know what? I think people get hung up on it, and I think the argument is not that baseball players are the most athletic. What I think is that baseball players typically are extremely coordinated. So take Mookie Betts, for example, who would be our contestant in that kind of competition. He's a 300 bowled in professional bowling matches and leagues. I mean, he could be on the pro bowling tour. Also about a 6 handicap golfer. Played ping pong a lot with him. Very, very good ping pong player. I think all these things that are coordination, right? To hit 100-mile-an-hour baseball with a 30-ounce bat, it takes some hand-eye, right? So I think most of our guys are extremely coordinated. And on top of that, you look at the position players and some of the stuff, the burst of speed that they have to do to chase down balls, the consistency in the movements that they do. It's just a lot of body control and coordination. And, pitchers probably get overlooked a little bit because we're just throwing and that's all we do. But I think to do what we do consistently, stay healthy at the level that a lot of guys can do is a tribute to what we do off the field and the ability that we have to kind of contort our bodies to create all this leverage. I think it's a big deal, and I'm proud to be able to do some of the things that we can do.
It's a very political answer, Walker Buehler. In so many words, you're saying that baseball players are the best athletes in the world.
Hey, I don't know. We're probably the most coordinated, though. I'll say that for sure.
Yeah, I guess that would probably be a better way, and the argument is, but God, it just seems that I just feel like if you took the best player off of every team that we would smoke. I say we because I'm a baller too, not like on your level, but I just think that I've played so many different sports with baseball players. It's hard to think that I've been around football players. I've been around basketball players. They just don't look the same as a baseball player doing these sports and returning a backhand on a ping pong table, a tennis court, wherever we're at. It just is always, when the guys in Argentina told me that soccer players were the best athletes, I was like, are you serious? They could outrun me stamina wise, and they can dribble a ball and they have strong legs. I promise you, a lot of them become most of the place kickers in the NFL, but they're not going to outdo all of these athletic events against the best baseball players in the world. I mean, Trout hit a golf ball over the mountain like Uncle Rico did. Mookie Betts is bowling 300. I've seen Buster Posey play ping pong, and as a catcher, he's got unbelievable eye-hand coordination. But to hit a round object with a round object, changing planes from 60 feet, 6 inches away that could be going upwards of 100 miles an hour down to 75 miles an hour with the same arm motion with a freaking circle changeup, which is the hardest pitch to hit in baseball, in my opinion. For most people, it's almost impossible to think that you could go up there and face a 98 mile an hour fastball, then the next pitch is coming at you at 78 with the same arm action. It just takes a special person to do that. And that's why if you do it 3 out of 10 times, you're considered an all-star, because it's impossible to do it consistently. I mean, not impossible, but it's tough to be very consistent at it. Right.
Listen, man, I've tried to hit against guys that throw like myself or, even better than I do. I think it's damn near impossible. I can't believe that they do it 3 out of 10. I can't believe they do it 2 out of 10. I think I'm about a career 0.7 hitter. I mean, terrible. But no, it's one of those things, man. You just do it forever and these things slow down. And I think that talking about the mental side of it, the ability to kind of slow everything down is something that people don't talk about much, but I think is probably one of the biggest things in our game.
I love when you talk about the ability to slow the game down, because that right there is the secret to separating the major leaguers from even the triple A's to the double A's to the single A's to the rookie ball to the D1 ball to the Cape Cod League to the Alaskan Wooden Bat League. When you watch somebody that gets it and can slow the game down and put it on that level of, I don't care who's on the mound today. I don't care if I'm a lefty facing a lefty that can bite me off one way out on the outer half of the plate. I'm going to let the ball get deep. I'm going to hit the ball where it's pitched. Slowing the game down like that is so much easier than done, right? Like I can sit there and go, I could watch video on Walker and go, all right, I'm going to get on the on-deck circle. I'm going to see him live for a second. Then I'm going to step in the box. And the next thing you know, you're like, I didn't even have time to react to that. I got my hands back and I was ready to get some separation with my front side. And then all of a sudden I hear the catcher's glove pop. And I faced major leaguers. I've been in camp. I've been around guys that have gotten in cages and throwing maybe 70%. And I'm like, I would strike out every freaking time I got in the box. And I played D1 baseball. And I mean, probably an overachiever at D1 at UNLV. But I see these guys today and getting in the box against them. I'm like, how in the world? It just seems like taking a handoff and running through the two hole is easier. I know you're going to get punished, but I just think that the actual athletic ability to hit a baseball with consistency and not to overlook what you do, to come off of that bump and to place your pitches and to keep your arm in shape and then to be consistently throwing strikes and not putting runners on base or in scoring position. I mean, that is an athletic freaking deal, man. The best pitchers in the game are all of them are athletes.
Right. No, there's some guys that are obviously freak athletically, like purely gifted athletes, like Glass now from the Rays. I've met him. He's 6'8", easily 6'8". Looking up at him, what's up, man? I'm Walker. Hey. And people are trying to tell me he can do a standing backflip. I'm like, well, was his parents gymnasts? No, he's a freak. Like, all right, cool.
Wow.
Like, you just hear stuff like that, of certain guys that are just different, and that's a cool part of our game, man. They come in all kind of shapes and sizes and whatever. So you get some of these guys that are just different.
Well, give me what makes you that word. What makes Walker Buehler different? If you were going into a job interview with the ownership of the LA Dodgers and you didn't get drafted, but you were trying to sell yourself as a first-round draft pick, let's say that's how the draft happened. What separates you? Tell me your pitches. Tell me your competitive edge. Do you have a lot of like pregame activity that isn't normal? Are you one of those weirdos that has to touch a certain part of your ear before every put? Are you very superstitious at all, Walker? Well, how do you sell me as the owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers to draft you 24th overall? I've never seen you play. What makes you different as a baseball player?
You know what? I think the biggest thing for me is, I've learned this more as I've been in the big leagues longer, is that I think my biggest strength is that I'm just not afraid to fail, really. I think I've failed in some really big spots in my career, and then I seem to find a way to kind of go on a run where I'm better than I have been before. And, I just think at this point I'm not scared of it. And I think I was less scared of it back then than I thought I was. I think I don't want to fail. I don't want to let everyone down. I have let everyone down before. And I think that if you can bounce back from that, you learn a lot about yourself. And I think that's the biggest strength in what I do these days.
Ooh, I like it. So it becomes down to the word that Michael Jordan made so famous, that he could never become a champion or know how to win until he failed.
Right.
Okay, so now I look at you and I say, okay, you're not afraid. I'll put you out there on the bump on opening day. What are you going to show me? What do you have that's different? What makes you one of the top pitchers in the game right now? Nobody knew this when you were a stud coming out of Vandy, but now you got God-given stuff in the major leagues. Tell me about what separates your physical ability and your pitches.
Yeah, I think the surgery part was huge for me, because I think, your ligament is a part of it, right? Like Tommy John, like if your ligament's bad, you can't throw right? So I think in college I learned how to work, and then I learned how to get in the weight room, right? And I need to be stronger. I want to be stronger. I think in pro ball, and especially in my rehab, I learned how to be stronger for exactly what I needed to do and what I wanted to do. So I learned this doesn't really work for me. This stuff's super important. Learn how to create a routine that's not just something that you're writing down or showing a coach, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I think it's about living that routine and knowing that that's what you need to be doing. So I think for me, that's the biggest thing. And I think I had my surgery and all my stuff got better. My fastball got harder. My slider got better. My curveball got harder. All these things happen, but I think the ligament is part of it. I also think working smarter and working more efficiently, I think, has been the biggest thing for me now.
When I watch you pitch, I consider you a 5-pitch pitcher. I don't know if I'm right about that, but I see a fastball, a slider, a curveball, a cut fastball, and a changeup. Am I wrong on that? Or
I got no changeup.
You have no changeup at all?
So that was the one thing. Before surgery, I had a pretty good changeup. And as you know, playing like this is the move on a changeup.
Yep.
When I got my surgery, my elbow doesn't extend exactly the same way. So I can't get there anymore. So I think last year, 2019, I think I threw 12 changeups all year. So it's just not in there anymore. But that's okay. It's something we can always try and figure out a different way or a new way. But yeah, it's basically 4-seam, occasional 2-seam, cutter, slider, curveball. I'll end up throwing 2 or 3 different slider variations just based on count, what I'm trying to do with it. If I want the ball, if I'm trying to strike a guy out, there's a certain slider that you want to throw, right? The one that's a strike a long time and then goes down. But if you want the one trying to get the ball on the ground, you kind of want to decelerate it, maybe create a little bit more horizontal just to try and get the bat to touch it. And, I think that's stuff that you kind of pick up over the years. But, definitely I think probably my biggest strength is just spinning the ball, whether it's with my fastball or making it go left.
And when you say your fastball got harder, what are you consistently at right now?
Man, I want to say my average this year was in 96.5, 96.8, something like that.
Topping off at what?
I threw my best fastball of my career this year at 100.8. So I finally got a 101 up there.
Where were you?
We were in Arizona. Now, I will say I'm going to have to be a little humble about it. There was about 25-mile-an-hour winds coming in behind me in the dome. They had opened up the dome. First time I'd ever seen them do it. And so it was howling in there. So the ball was flying out of there, but it officially was 100.8. So that was my best ball of my career.
100.8 from the right side. Is it moving at all? Is this, when you throw it that hard, does it even have time to move?
No, that was a two-seamer. It ran a little bit. I don't know what. Most people throw the two-seamer slower, but I think when I was talking about the changeup, because my arm doesn't really roll over, I think I keep the same velocity just about on my two-seamer as I do on my four.
So it kind of sounds like you're the real life version of, what was the movie? Was it Rookie of the Year? What was the what was the movie when the kid
that is. And then when he breaks his arm.
Breaks his arm and comes back stronger. When you come out of Vanderbilt, you're a huge baseball fan. You can't be where you're at in life without growing up a huge fan of the game.
Right.
Is it safe to assume that you idolize Kershaw? Were you a fan of watching him, or was it kind of like a new thing to you when you come into the organization and you become friends with him? Does he take you under his, because now it looks like you guys are best buds. You got pictures drinking a beer after the World Series win. You guys are buddies, right? So how does it happen? Did you come in there like starstruck and he goes, "Hey kid, relax a minute and just be my friend," or how does it all go down coming out of Nashville?
It takes a minute, man, because first off, you go through the minor leagues and things like that. And I was fortunate enough to get to the major leagues before I ever went to big league camp. So I was in minor league camp in 2017, getting ready for my first full year. I had a great year. Just very lucky. I started in high A, ended up in the big leagues in September and kind of met him really for the first time there. And, not a lot really happens. You're just you're the new guy, the young guy that's just kind of there and you want to try and shut up, but you also don't want to just get walked all over, right? So, nothing really happens, right? So then the next year in the off season, I fly down to Dallas. The strength coach was like, "Hey, we want you to go work out with Kirsch for a day. Like, we kind of want you to see what it's all about." I'm like, "Cool, great." So I go to his house, workout crushes me. I'm like almost throwing up everywhere. And he's like, "All right, so we warmed up. Like, you ready?" I'm like, "Oh God." So we get done, we eat, we hang out, I fly home. 2018, I end up getting called up when I have a pretty decent year. And throughout that year, we kind of have some more conversations. And, he and I do things really differently. He's very, very, very routine based and very, very everything by the book. And this is what I do. And I'm not going to stray from this. And I'm more fly by the seat. That year, I didn't even scout. I just kind of let our catcher, who had been there for a long time, Yasmani Grandal, let him tell me what I needed to do, and I'm not going to shake you off. So that was all good. And then 2019, I started off struggling and was pretty bad. So kind of went to him and, "Hey, teach me how to do this scouting stuff, man." So I started doing that. And, I think just as time goes on and you're successful, but I think with him, it's more about being consistent and being who you are and being what got you there. And I think he kind of understood, like, oh, it may come off like he's just kind of throwing shit at the wall, but I think he kind of realized that I kind of know what I'm doing. And I think we've kind of grown to appreciate having each other around now.
So back to the workout in Dallas, was this to show you or to get you to understand what it takes to get to that level? Because they already knew, because he's kind of like got that Alex Gordon, if you will, mystique of go try to work out with Gordo and you're going to throw up for about a week after,
Yeah, very similar. Obviously he's getting, he's had some injuries and things like that. So he and I didn't really do a whole lot of the same exact things. But, before, when I go play catch, I grab a ball and a glove and walk out there and play catch. And he's got us in there running around and doing sprints and stretching and all this stuff that I just, honestly had never been, I've been told that that's what you're supposed to do. But when you're young and stupid and dumb, you just go and, well, I can throw a ball. Like, I'm a pitcher. So I obviously don't need to do all this stuff. I just need to throw. And then you go and see, one of the greatest of all time doing it every single day in the middle of the off season when he's making $32 million a year. It's hard to kind of think that that's not the way you need to go. And I think that's what everyone wanted. And I certainly got that out of it.
Do you ever sense the money part of baseball? Because it is talked about a lot, right? The cap, the amount that the Dodgers, a club like the Yankees, are able to spend in, whether it's free agency or their overall roster and what their payroll is. I look at it as a business. If the Yankees are a business and they've built that empire and they have more money, well, it's just like any other area in the world, right? The people that work the hardest and make develop the best brand or business are probably gonna, but it doesn't mean they're gonna win every game. You made a mention of Kershaw making $32 million a year and still being the hardest worker in the room. Does it ever floor you to understand the humility of most people? Now, there is some arrogance in athletics. There's no doubt about it. But the more I'm around guys like you, the guys that I've been fortunate enough to hang out with, whether it was in the duck blind or hunting camp or wherever, I see so much humility, Walker. And then you talk about a guy like that literally probably never has to work another day in his life, but he pushes himself to that point every time he works out. Doesn't that floor you about the human spirit and what it takes to get there and, more importantly, stay there?
Yeah, I think specifically in our game, there are guys, and I've played with a few of them, that they feel like they've earned that money, right? In our game, it takes a little minute to get to that point because obviously we're making an awesome living, but there's a lot of guys that play 2 or 3 years that do have to work, right? You do have to work post baseball. Now you get to a point like Clayton, that's a different animal, but there's some guys that get to that point and they feel that they've earned it, right? They've earned every dollar that they got, and they certainly have. I think Kirsch is one of those guys that believes that every day he has to keep earning that contract. And it's guaranteed. That money's his, right? But he has to live up to it. And I think that's the two ways that guys look at it. And it can be difficult to kind of be on the right side of that. But Clayton is definitely one of those people that every day that he knows what's invested in him and what he has to live up to.
Do you have expectations internally with you and the way you were brought up? Are you, mom and dad brought you up in a way that you are going to respect that dollar, because it takes a lot to raise a family, your livelihood, creating revenue, whether you're an entrepreneur or a janitor at a high school, you take pride in what you do. You're very fortunate. You get to play a kid's game and make millions of dollars, but you're talented and your work ethic is there. That's what the things that I always want to put out front is that I was given the ability to be where Walker is too. I just wasn't freaking good enough. That's all there is to it. So he worked harder. He was given a God-given ability. He was given a different skill set, whatever it was. There's a lot of right-handed people in the world, way more than there are lefties like me. A lot of those right-handed people don't make millions of dollars throwing a baseball in the major leagues. You had to have something special and a drive. And on top of that, Walker Buehler, there's a lot of kids, male and female, that throw a baseball right-handed that start Little League at 5 or 6 years old that don't get to make millions of dollars doing it. It takes something special. So is your work ethic or your ability to get to that level, you say that you're more fly by the seat of your pants and not so much in a routine as you are now back in the day. What was it? Was it your dad always being on you? Were you very disciplined as a kid? Were you allowed to go drink a beer and party at the bonfire in high school? Or was your dad like mine and he's like, you better be home at 9 p.m. and you're not going to say a cuss word around your mom? It was very disciplined in my household. How was it growing up, and how did you get to this point if you really weren't on a routine?
Yeah, my childhood was kind of different. My parents split when I was 3, so my dad was in Cincinnati most of my life. He's out in LA now through Denver. So he was in Denver 4 years and then LA. But yeah, I was kind of allowed to do high school and Kentucky stuff and go to the bonfire and drink a couple beers. And, we were definitely a little bit different in that way. But, I think for me, the fly by the seat of the pants stuff, honestly has always been a little bit of the insecurity element of it. If you look at me in a mirror, man, I don't look like a guy that's supposed to go pitch in the big leagues, right? I'm a little bit smaller, a little bit leaner. I'm smaller than basically everyone that I play with, right? So for me, always that insecurity has been like, well, if I made it here, there's obviously something going on, right? And I always just felt like if I put in less into the game, right, that if I failed, I wouldn't feel like I had lost so much. Some guys take it so hard because they put in hours and hours and hours and hours and hours for that one day, and it doesn't go well. It's tough to swallow, right? You feel like that's all been wasted in some way. And for me, I just wanted to learn how to I wanted to not feel that shitty when things didn't go my way. And I think that's kind of where all that came from. And I think I found a nice balance of, I know what I need to get done. I know how to get that done, but I'm not going to live and die by every pitch after I'm done. I'll live and die by it while I'm out there, but I'm not going to live and die the rest next week trying to worry about, oh, I just got beat. Everyone's looking at me, right? That's a real feeling. That happens. If you don't throw well in a major league locker room, you feel like 24 guys are staring at you. They're not, because I don't stare at the guy. He has a bad start. I'm like, all right, well, we got another one. We got 30 of these things. But trying to find a way to mentally be able to process that failure, I think is such a huge deal. And, everyone does it differently. And that was just kind of my way of doing it.
So if you do, God forbid, go out tomorrow and get in a skateboarding accident when you're rolling down Lexington Avenue and trying to ollie, and your agent calls you and calls you every name in the book because now you're done. You tore your rotator cuff, you broke your collarbone, and you tore your labrum, you're out. Yeah. What are you doing come spring training? What's your new job of choice?
I got to finish this degree, man. I still got a couple semesters. I always said I would do the law school thing. I think that was something that kind of always interests me. My mom's an attorney, so I was kind of always interested in that. But, I don't know, man. I love to coach. I love to deal with, kids and try and help kids improve. I also told my pitching coach at Vandy that he had 15 years. The day I got drafted, I said, you got 15 years left, and then it's my job. So I don't know, something like that.
You like the coaching part of it, huh?
I do. I think that's how I play. I think I play as if I'm being coached. I try and coach myself through everything. That's kind of, everybody talks about your internal dialogue, right? And the things you tell yourself. And, some guys tell themselves, oh, you suck. Some guys tell themselves, oh, you're the man. I just kind of coach myself. So, I think that's something that I might be able to be all right at.
Last year I got to go to the Derby and the Oaks at Churchill Downs. I got to sit in a really cool box, and I got to experience things that I never thought I'd ever get to experience. It was amazing to see the atmosphere. Obviously, the Kentucky Derby was different this year, but last year I was like, man, this is so cool. I got to dress up like you see on TV. I got to see all the girls in their fancy hats. You are an owner in a horse. You have a huge passion for horses. You wouldn't go into that circle. Are you a horse guy? Are you a rodeo guy? Are you a ranch farm guy? Or did you just one day wake up and say, oh, I'm into horse racing because I grew up around it in the state of Kentucky?
No, I don't think I woke up. I think it's something that's kind of ingrained here. It's a big part. 6 weeks in the spring, 6 weeks in the fall, they're running at Keeneland, and, we've always gone out there a lot. So I remember reading books about betting and stuff like that when I was a kid, 10, 11 years old, maybe, reading some handicapping books. And I kind of got the bug early, man. I remember I was probably 11 or 12. Grandfather took me out there, kind of rainy day. Did a little 10-cent superfecta, cash it for about $450, and you're kind of hooked at that point, and was lucky to meet some guys involved in it, and there's this new website called My Racehorse that I think is going to be awesome for the sport of horse racing because they're doing micro shares, right? So I own some micro shares in Authentic, so I own about 3 hairs, I think, of that horse, but it's a different deal when you can watch a horse that you can say you own win a big race, and we got to do that twice this year with the Derby and the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Are you a fanatic to where you know a lot about the game on a daily basis? Like, you know who, is going to be up for the Triple Crown every year? Are you, so you're into it that much? I had the winning ticket. I have pictures in my studio of me and my buddy Tom with the winning ticket last year. And if you remember, that was the heavy rain and the horse the winner got disqualified.
Yeah, maximum security.
Maximum security. Yeah.
You know what? Hold on. Let me grab something for you. I'll show you this. I got to turn this light on anyway.
Oh, the mood lighting you set was perfect, Walker.
I know, it's just too much. I got to show you this thing. So you know what this is?
Yeah.
This is what the horse wears. It's called a halter.
Yes. No way. Did you get that last year after the Derby?
No, I got it this year. Bob Baffert's a buddy of mine and gave it to me.
The trainer, the blonde trainer with the sunglasses that they show him.
White hair.
He's been shown more in horse racing than the horses. That dude is the wizard, isn't he?
That's my guy.
Really?
Oh yeah, I stayed it when we went to LA this year. With COVID, I lost my lease or whatever, got out of my lease, and I stayed in his pool house for about 10 days trying to find a new lease. Wow, how cool is that? Yeah.
Good guy, huh?
Yeah, he's funny, man.
So give me your playlist, Walker Buehler. What are you listening to when you're working out? What are you listening to when you're driving to the field? And are you a country guy, but you turn on Metallica and Guns N' Roses, but you're not afraid to hit some Eminem and Ice Cube being down there by Compton? Are you an all around music guy, or give it to me?
Yeah, I'm big all around guy. I think there's a little mood for everything. I got a little country playlist. I'm big into the new Luke Combs stuff, and for game kind of stuff, I'm big into like Five Finger Death Punch. I used to walk out to Avenged Sevenfold. I walk out to Rage Against the Machine now. So kind of that a little bit old school, like rock stuff. And then I don't really necessarily listen to like the very popular rap stuff, but there's some rap stuff. I'm weird with music though, man. I'll get 4 to 6 songs probably and listen to them in the same order every day for months. So I think this year, I looked at it the other day, I think this year I put 4 songs on my Spotify.
That's crazy because I love music too, Walker, but like I'll get on a kick to where if I know that I have this many miles to drive in my truck, I know that I get on this like routine of the same 4 songs. And, I'm on that Siri deal where I just ask her to play it. And the one I'm on right now, and you're going to love this. I hope you love this, being born and bred where you sit right now. Yep. I listen to Chris Knight like it's going out of style. And if you don't and you haven't, with him being from Kentucky, he just did his second podcast with me. We just aired it this last week or so. But to hear his songs and the way that he writes them and his lyrics, I'm hooked right now. Have you listened to a lot of Chris Knight?
I don't think so. I'll give that a go though. The Kentucky guy I know of, I listen to a little bit of Sturgill Simpson here and there. A couple of his songs I'm big in. I know he's a Kentucky guy. There's some talent around here, man.
When we get off this, download Chris Knight. I'll text it to you, but it's Knight, and he's got about 6 albums that I promise you're gonna. If you like Sturgill, if you're a Sturgill kind of guy, and Luke Combs, he's a huge influence of Luke Combs. I guarantee it. Cool. So, so if you're listening to some music and you do have the opportunity to celebrate or have an adult beverage. Are you a wine guy ever? Are you a hard alcohol cocktail guy ever? Are you mainly a cold beer guy?
Trying to find the best way to explain this. I'm more of I'll subtract a few things. I don't really do tequila. A couple tequilas I like. Definitely bourbon of the dark stuff, but there's also some scotch that I don't drink rum. That's kind of a hard no. But I mean, everybody talks about your daily driver, right? The car you drive to work. And then you got for me, it's Bud Light's kind of the daily driver of my, alcohol diet. But I'll dive into bourbon's probably number 2 and red wine's probably number 3.
So being from Kentucky, would you, if I said I want to send you a bottle of my new Foul Life Edition Jack Daniels that I just done?
I saw that. I might give that a go.
Would you take a taste of that if I send you a bottle?
Yeah, I don't mind a Jack Daniels here and there. It doesn't say bourbon, so it is not where I am from, but neither is Bud Light, and I've grown to really enjoy that. So I'd give it a go.
So when you talk about bourbons, I got a really cool commemorative bottle of Woodford Reserve when I was at the Derby last year with the horses on it.
Yeah.
Is that one of your favorites? Is that a mainstay at your bar if you're around your home bar? Or what are the good bourbons in Kentucky? Is Jim Beam the best? Is what are the top ones?
Well, I want to show you this real quick because this, as you said, little Woodford.
There it is.
This is a cool thing they did.
Look at
for
that.
me. So they put a little picture of me in one of the games on there. I do like Woodford. Buffalo Trace is probably my favorite of that kind of grouping. I like Michter's a lot. Not many people really know about that, but Michter's is up there on my list.
Never heard of it. Is that out of Kentucky too?
Yeah. So have you ever seen the show Billions?
No.
Okay. It was a big part of that show, but yeah, Michter's is a pretty solid one. There's not that many bad ones, man. They're all pretty good to me, but those are probably my two favorites right now. And then Weller's always up there for me as well. So
taking a step further now, and you got to pair it with some of your favorite meals. Are you a sit down and love to eat really top end sushi in Long Beach or Seal Beach or Manhattan Beach? Are you a steak and potato guy from Kentucky?
Yeah, the only way I can phrase it is I eat nothing that swims. So I don't eat shrimp. I don't eat lobster. I don't eat fish. I don't eat oyster. Nothing. If it kind of grows up in the water, I don't really have a taste for it. It's kind of a weird deal.
Wow, Walker, you wouldn't even eat a halibut or a walleye?
Nothing,
what?
Man. I'm weird. My parents told me that one time I sat down, I was like 6 or 7, I ate a giant plate of catfish, and I have never eaten it, never enjoyed it since.
Well, what about things that fly? Will you eat a pheasant or a duck?
Yeah, I've definitely dove into those. I'm a lot closer to really enjoying those. I do love a dove. Tried some duck stuff that I really do like. It's just tough, man. You don't grow up. So I didn't grow up hunting. My family doesn't really hunt. So I kind of got into the game late. So I've probably been only duck hunting for 4 or 5 years now, but kind of been one of those things. My fiance's brother really got me into it. So we're developing that. I do like elk. I've had some really good elk that I like. What's weird is I would really, really like to hunt a buffalo or a bison. I don't know if you can even do that anymore, but because I know that I love eating those. So I would like to go shoot one and bring it home and put it in the freezer. But it seems like they got all those out of there a long time ago.
No, you can still go bison hunting in states like North Dakota, Montana. You could go do one. I could even help you out with the right caliber rifle for it too. But I agree, bisons. I like bison steaks and tenderloin. I'm not a real big bison burger guy, but you made a reference earlier. What's that?
I'm not either. I do make some chili, just a normal chili recipe with some bison that I like a lot.
I'd much rather have beef when it comes to ground beef. I'm going to talk to you off camera about this little beef deal we got going on. I'm going to send you some of that as well. But you made reference to a movie line earlier when you were coming out of Vandy. They made you an offer you couldn't refuse. Do you know the movie?
I feel like that's in a lot of movies, but I got none of them off the top of my head.
There's a main one. If you Googled that, I would think that it would come up Don Corleone in the original Godfather from 1972. Yeah. I think Marlon Brando made you an offer you can't refuse. Are you a Dwayne Johnson Rock, Kevin Hart kind of action comedy? Are you more of a Superbad, Vince Vaughn, Wedding Crashers type of comedy? Because that, like when I think of a movie that I want to sit down and watch right now, I want Vince Vaughn and somebody making me laugh. And I think Wedding Crashers is the funniest movie of all time, and I think Superbad is right there. Are you in agreement with that? Because you come from Hollywood right now. That's where your career is lived out. You're living like the storybook career. You're around all the movie stars even come to watch you pitch, Walker Bueller. What kind of movie guy are you?
Yeah, the Vince Vaughn stuff is probably more up my alley. I'm big. I mean, it's weird to say. I'm a big Matthew McConaughey guy, Leonardo DiCaprio, kind of all the ones that all the women like. I tend to like, but no, I watch a lot of stuff, man. But not the not the big action comedies. Those aren't really my thing.
Do you like The Rock? And now I'm not saying that you know him, but you see him on Instagram. You see him in what he does in life. He's very successful, and he's got a work ethic. He's the hardest worker in the room. He says that. He's got endorsement deals. He owns his own tequila now. He owns $7 Production. He's just started the XFL again in the football arena.
Yeah.
What is your opinion of Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, as far as is he real? What is I have like this weird thing, Walker, like, I don't know, like, he's always seems to like be promoting something. I don't know how to take it. I don't know how you look at it. Like, is he a big time talent? How is he doing what he is doing is the question I guess I'm trying to ask.
Listen, my thing is this. If you're on the thing as owner, right? If it's yours, you promote it as much as you want. Now, is he using influence on some other things? For sure. But if somebody came to you and said, hey, we'll give you whatever they would give The Rock, and you've got to do this on your Instagram, 98% of people would do it. You know what I mean? So I don't blame anyone for doing that stuff. You try and not do too much of it or stuff that you kind of don't believe in yourself. But I mean, the guy, you look at his Instagram, the guy puts in the time and the effort to kind of look the way he looks and have the confidence to act the way he acts. And, you know, I got nothing but respect for people that kind of make something of themselves.
I love it. And it's never given. And I often hear people talk about that part of our society. In your life, you have people that are paid to critique you. You have people that are paid to bring you down. Let's take a guy that was just on this podcast, Carson Wentz, up in Philadelphia, quarterback for the Eagles. He's taken it on the chin all year by even his guys that were his friends in the media before, local media guys, right?
Right.
How do you respond to that? And what would your advice be if I asked you to come speak to my up-and-comer class? You're gonna have to put up with haters and critiques someday in your life, especially in today's world of social media. I could get on there and say something about The Rock, and if you go on there, there's people that actually hate on Dwayne Johnson. I look at Dwayne Johnson as this superhero kind of dude of like, man, you were just another WWF guy and you have built this freaking empire, which is unbelievable. But he has all of these people that are going, you know, you sell out, you do this, you do that. And I'm like, where does the negativity come from? How would you come in and speak on that and teach my up and comers class and even myself, Walker Bueller, how to deal with it? Because you've already said you don't really wear it on the chin. You go to the next day. You don't let it sit with you very long. Does it ever get to you though if somebody says something bad about Walker Bueller?
Yeah, I think I'm one of those people that I have to let it right. I think for me I try and take everything in, the good, bad, the ugly. When I'm good, I do read everything. I want to hear that because it's not hard or it's not easy to be good in the big leagues, right? And you deserve to embrace that a little bit. And some guys want to just shy away from the positive because, oh, I should be doing this. I don't need the praise for it. But for me, I want to read it all. When I'm good, I read everything. When I'm bad, I read everything and try and find out who I am, right? You kind of, some people will say things a certain way. And you know what, if you're one of those people that can handle that, like I believe that I am, where I read the negative stuff and I feel different the next day, I may be more motivated. But I'm also more motivated when I hear the positive stuff too. So, you know, I think you just got to learn what kind of drives you in that way and test it out, see what happens. If you read a bunch of good stuff about yourself the night before and then go in there and you got no motivation, then you're probably not built to read all the positive stuff, you know? But if you go in there and you read all the negative shit and the next day you're sad and don't want to lift or don't want to get better, then probably shouldn't read anything. But for me, I'm just one of those people that I want to hear it all because I trust in the way that my brain can process it and turn it into something that I can use.
Do you ever want to respond to the negativity?
Yeah, you want to, but it's not worth it at some point. You know, you watch when guys do it and everybody gets a laugh, but you know, you say the right thing or you say the wrong thing and it's for sure not worth it. Even when you say the right thing, I think a lot of times it's not worth it.
Who's the number one challenge in your mind right now if you had to pick one major league hitter to pitch against, not to prove a point, but to challenge Walker Buehler? Can I get this man out?
Yeah.
I get one at bat again. I get one. He gets one AB against me. Who is it? Is there somebody that stands out that you just want to go after?
Yeah, I think right now it has to be Swanson. Obviously, the easy stuff is to say Trout or guys like that. And Freddie Freeman, I think, is probably the toughest left-handed hitter I've faced. I think right now the guys that kind of have me a little bit are Cole Calhoun and Dansby Swanson, because Swanson got 3 hits off me in the playoff game. And I kind of talked about it. I said he might need to get one a little bit closer to his face. I don't want to hit him, but I think he's a little comfortable up there knowing kind of who I am and knowing a little bit too much about me.
Did he text you after that game?
No, we won, so he wouldn't have texted me.
Are you still friends with him?
I will be.
So, wow, did I pinch a nerve right there? Did I touch a nerve?
We're fine. No, I don't like giving up hits to my friends. It's no fun.
How many times have you gotten him out, though, since you guys both got to the show?
He's done well off me. I've gotten him out a decent amount of times, but his average is above that 3 for 10 line. So, he's hitting better off me than he is off the rest of the league. So I don't like that. Okay,
in history, I know our time's coming to an end. Who's the guy that you want to face that you'll never get to face? Junior.
Yeah, I grew up in Lexington, man. He was a Red. He was
a Red.
He was the man. No, he was a Red for a while. He was the man growing up around here.
What a sweet swing!
Oof.
God, when he turned that hat around backwards and get in the cage or home run derby, you're just like the Nike symbol, like of Jordan flying from the free throw, and then the one of Griffey swinging the bat on Griffey's shoes. Like, it's so perfect of who he was.
Yeah, my dad got to play against him in high school. My dad said he was on the bench, but he saw him hit a ball about 480 feet off of some barn and never forget it.
No way. With an aluminum bat for sure, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's a bomb. So where do we go from here, Walker? Where do we go? We wake up tomorrow morning? Are you hot and heavy at it already again? Are you on the ropes? Are you jump roping? Are you doing some heart rate training, interval training? Are you dieting and nutrition right now?
No, I never diet. Dieting's that's not part of my deal. But no, I'm back throwing, so I'll throw tomorrow and then lift tomorrow and maybe play some golf and try and enjoy a little downtime, and you know how it is. Are you
of the mindset that less is more when it comes to this time of year, as far as staying away from the game as much as possible?
Yeah, I have been in the past. I've probably taken a little bit too much time in the past just to, it's easy to say, oh, my body needs a break and whatnot, but we didn't play as many games, and I kind of want to ride the way I was feeling at the end of the year out and kind of push it into next year. So, this year I took about 10 days. I usually take about a month. So we're back on it already.
This is my last question. I truly appreciate your time. Congratulations on a great start to a Hall of Fame career. I'm seeing it. Some more world championships. I have a nephew that's 17. He's going into his senior season. He's a stud center fielder, leadoff hitter. He can run. He's got a hose. Has a pretty good baseball IQ. Yeah. Good base runner, good contact hitter. Doesn't hit for a lot of power right now. What do you do when you come into a high school right now? What would you say to these kids that have the dreams of sitting where you're sitting right now in that dugout, winning a World Series, being a starter on a major league roster? I know that it takes a ton of work, but is there some simple piece of advice or something that's outside of the box that you could tell my nephew and his teammates to get ready for that part of their life?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I learned, that kind of the simplest phrase, right, that meant the most to me, I think, is if you want to throw fast, throw fast. If you want to hit it far, hit it far. It's funny. It's like the whole go hard thing, but truly for me, it's been if I want to throw hard on the mound, I need to learn how to throw harder more all the time. And I think for me, it all led to the weight room and things like that. But I mean, if you're a kid and if you're watching today's baseball and you're not realizing that if you don't throw 96, it's going to be hard to get to the big leagues. If you can't hit home runs, it's going to be hard to get to the big leagues. Those are what is rewarded now. So train that way. Train to be able to do those things,
So take your advice would be to swing up on the ball if he's a position player.
Yeah. Just go learn how to hit the ball far, man. Go hit it hard. Go learn how to do it. Guys learn how to do it in the big leagues. So why not know how to do it before? I think don't listen to what the guy that doesn't know the new game is talking about. Listen to the young guys. Listen to what your eyes are telling you,
I love it. All right. Well, look at those dates I sent you. You need to come out. I have to see if you can shoot a shotgun. This whole eye-hand coordination talk that we had. Huh?
No, we'll be all right.
Huh, buddy? We got to see
right.
it. We got to see if some mallards setting in over the decoys get your adrenaline going so much, Walker Buehler, that you swing and miss. Man, bro, I appreciate you. Congratulations on the World Championship.
Absolutely, man. We'll holler at you later.
That's Walker Buehler, Los Angeles Dodgers. This has been another episode of This Life Ain't for Everybody. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm Chad Belding. We will be back at you with another episode.
We're all equal, that's what I think. I don't believe heaven has a bank. Make good use of your time.